Thanks. Roots Band. So this is the connection. Eternal Roots Band in the spot. This is Conscious Planet. So whenever we come through, this is my brethren always coming through. Each one teach one. So this is how we get through in a forum of thoughts of how we're interacting with everything that's coming into our intuition. We say it, intuition as in into it. So we have to know how we get into it. This is the djembe. For those who don't know, they call it the DJ. Yeah, so the DJ, the djembe, that's the sound of what we're getting from our western, also known even through our eastern side of Africa. Yeah. And then you got the Congo and the Kente. This the Kente right here and the Congo. So, you're getting the Latino sound, but it's really still from us. All of this comes from the culture of our mother. And so when we're interacting off of it, there's a middle sound, you know what I'm saying? There's a top and there's a bottom sound. And so you're always seeing the trinity out of everything that we're doing. It's like how to have a tripod. These interactions of our thoughts make the Y come out of a square. If we can see a Y coming out of a square, then we have the interaction of 3 being into 4. That's letting you know the door is next, being the 8. Because, you know what I'm saying? I told you before, 6 is scared of 7, because 7, 8, 9. When we're connected to that, it's your spine. It's the spine of what we connect to as we're moving interaction off the drum sound. Hearing that makes you connect to the spiral or spiralation, inspiration. How do we connect to those is just getting back in tune with ourselves. And when you know how to get in tune with yourselves, is coming to your root chakra. When you're splitting off the 9, that's the idea of what 10 is. 10 is the Capricorn from your legs going down. So when you think of structure, that's how you want to come off your kneecaps. Know your kneecaps has a bend to it, just like a rainbow. So when we think of the 7 chakra colors, that's the rainbow. So you rain your bow. If you want to be a king, you have to know how to make the key. Ma and ki, the mother and the key, the element of how you connect to energy. Energy is how ki is your chi, breath. If we're hitting the drums, we get that same interaction. So when it comes to inspiration, it's like how you move, how you connect to the masculine and your feminine to make yourself knowing why the Y is a split, to make your 2, you know what I'm saying, into 1. So when you connect to that, that's still the trinity. It's the triangle. So why I think of the pyramid, it's the fire in the midsection. So when we're into our mid of thought, it's just like the middle of the body. So that's how Sagittarius connection helps us when we're moving our hips, when we're dancing to the interactions of the African sounds or the African beats. All of this is still familiarization because we're connected to the collective DNA. It's a formula. So we form in you and La. That's the connection of what the La is. La could be energy of the L. It's just El La. We say Cinderella, but it's the cinder that's burnt to the thought. And so we have to become that thought too in the L and La. That's what makes us, universal in everything. Universe, all. Connect to the you and I verse, and now you're not just you and I verse. You're no longer unverse. You're known how to be inverse. So it's an inversal thing that we're doing. We're always throwing inspiration off, so it's one way that you can connect, and that's with the drum. There's a middle part. That middle part is your mother. The more I actually have it in that center is seeing the enter. If I had it flat, you couldn't hear that sound. But when I take it off the ground, you hear the sound echo to a point where it's just my finger. Now imagine if I put 2 fingers. Now see, that's the thought of a person, a being. If it was one person by himself, then you get 2 people. Now you got 3. You know what I'm saying? And that's just off your hand alone. Now just imagine someone else is in the background. You can add sound to it too. So it's like, it's the idea of you being a warrior to yourself, and then warriors just come on out. It's a spiritual warrior effect. So this is like the call of the drum when you're usually hearing the bass, the mother. So the bass of the mother usually calls people out, And you think of it bouncing like a basketball. Got that extra loud sound. Now this, of course, everybody wants to hear this. They want to hear themselves loud as I don't know what. Because it's like your voice speaking out. So now that you know that, there's the child. Child, always got to be next to the mama. It's not as loud as the mama, but you can get a good tone and a slap out of it. And of course, as you go further down, you got your daddy. And that's the one that's going to be talking, telling you what to do. You better go ahead and do what you got to do. And not only that, he's action. So when you move, it could be how fast you move your feet, just as how fast you move your hands. Vibration. So when you think of vibration and vibration with beats, it gives you harmony in your patterns. When you show how you make patterns in yourself, it's just like how you skip, how you do a hop, how you do something different as when you walk. Some people look at it as when they do their little strut when they're walking. They try to make it seem like it's a chain on you, but it's not a chain. It's your pride feeling. So just take that as a loyalty of yourself. You got to have a high pride. You're 1,000 to 1. So every time you step out, it's like 1,000 of you you're representing, but you're that one. Right. And so you make a mockery of yourself in a mock versus a make, M-A-K-E versus the M-O-C-K. So you don't want to make a mockery of yourself. You want to make a makery of yourself. In the making, you know how origination and creation comes out. That's the Trinity. Every time you come with Trinity, it's just like how you're creating and making in the sounds, the vibration. How you connect to it, the left and your right hand. You got to use them. You can't use just right hand. You got to use that left too. And if you think about it, if you want your left to sound just as good as your right, you want that sound to sound just like that. Whether I took my hand off, you should know which one I'm hitting with. That's what you want to sound like. You want to sound just as good as your left hand is just as good as your right hand. If you never knew that, then this is the problem we're having in ourselves all along. It's like saying taking something in the inside and pulling it out and not seeing where it came from. That's the Trinity. It's still the triangle. You put your hands up, you got the car. Some people say, or goal. It's the level of going into your higher self. So once you know the 3 into the 4, you're that fire, the element of air, earth, and rain. They call it fear. But you're not in fear yourself. You got to change that. We'll put the S on the front of it, and now it's fear. Put the atmosphere of thought. In atmosphere, then we'll always be shocked and never get our earthquakes like we need to. How we tumble our sounds out with the mama. She gives that beautiful sound. That sound to say, okay, this is the call to come on in. We got to go do something. I don't know what it is. We might have to fight. We might have to be joyous. Somebody might have passed away. This is that connection to our call, though. So even if you heard it a mile away, you'll say, yo, I heard that beat. It just called me. I don't know what it was. It just called me in. I had to come and just see what was going on. That's what it do. If you didn't notice, there was someone that came around and they purchased something because that's what it do. It connects to you how it's supposed to. Now, do you connect to it like you're supposed to? If you look at this as a tree, then you're connected to Mother Nature. If you look at all these trees out here, that's how we connect to Mother Nature. They're giving off something, we giving off something at the same time. So when we're into connection of that, that's letting you know our left and our right, our in and our out, our up and our down. Some say our good and our bad. But when you think of the good and the bad, you split yourself off again. And now you got to have a balance of self again. And if you think about it, 90% is right-handed in this world. Yeah. And then you got some ambidextrous, but you got left hand is 10%. Now think about this. 90% we don't think with. And they say 10% we do think with. The ironic part of that. So maybe we need to use our left hand more? Perhaps. That might help, Yeah, we shouldn't handicap ourselves. So we come into our instruments, we come into our culture, we come into our art. We come into those things that help us see the masculine and the feminine of what we do. The hand that takes the time while the hand that doesn't. The hand that pushes while the other hand that pulls. This is how we connect to it. You know, when we look at the universe, it's like that, karma and dharma. You know, they'll call it drama and trauma, you know, in a different way. So we have to look at the other way about it, see that there's two sides to it. And once you balance it, it makes that polarity a better change for yourself, because we're not linear thinkers. They have a point to where you want to feel like you're a linear thinker, but you're not. If you think of a flat piece on the ground, then that's as far as we can go with it. But if you get down to the floor, you can see all levels. So just like if I pulled it up, I could think on that matter, and it'll be like a square to me. Because when you walk into a room, you might see squares on the ground, squares on the ceiling. But then you think of the squares on the ceiling, they might be doubled. So now it's a rectangle on the ceiling and squares on the floor. And then you think there's square windows and then there's rectangle doors. So you're always in the connection of 4 and 8 making 12. We're always in the connection of a zodiac of thought without even knowing we're in the zodiac scale. They call it the horoscope, but it's our scope. We're in it all the time. We just didn't know we had to scope it out. So when we think of hours is time of power. They say that H is silent, right? H is silent, so we hear her in silencer. You don't want to silence her, though. You want her to, speak. That's why sometimes religion can be a damper if you don't know what you're talking about. And it can kill you, yes. But the idea of kill is just another regeneration for those who don't know. So you have to come back again and do it again. So, yes, travel we will. And while we're traveling, I want to go ahead and hit one more sound out, because I don't want, you just to not know anything else, because it's like, what you leave me with? Just the beginning of the drumming? The drumming is great because it opens up your body. Now that we got the body open, it gives you more time to do something with it. Maybe you can come over here and drum with us one time. We wouldn't mind you coming to Conscious Planet. It's a place where we connect to everything that's out there, the passive life, because we need a channel. We need to find a channel. They call it tune the L. So we need to tune our L, which is the 7. It could say it's a spell, 7 spell concept, but it's not that bad if we turn it around and see the L the other way from the 7 and see how the polarities change. When we're moving it around, some people use it as a gun. Some people use, so it puts a remembrance of what the trade winds were, the north, east, west, and south. So when we're in our news, we have to put news of ourselves too, not just old news, new news. So you're in your present time. So it's omnipresent, omnipresent, omniscient, and then you got you got your intuition, where it helps you get it in tune easier. Like if you know a past thing, you wasn't ready for it, and now you connect to it in your present. That's known as sui juris. And if you know sui juris, it's like you didn't really need it at the time to know what it was for. But then it's like, bam, oh, that's why I had to connect to it. So just like the drum, that's what we're going to do. We're going to connect back to you, help you in tune with that, and know how it's one meant, atonement, that's all connected. So when you see mint is menta, meant to say things and out to the land. So when we even think of amen, reverse it, you see N-A-M-E, name. So when we're connected to the name, we're concealing things. And so one who conceals has to know your covenant that you're in. So when it comes into income, you must also know your outcome. And so this is where we're going. You came over. Thank you. Appreciate you. We got a sister here named Umi. She's going to break it down to you also, and also up to the left and the right point of what we speak on as far as numerology. When it comes down to it, we might not know too much about it. From 0 to 9, the 0 starts here too, and that's why you see it in the circle. We're in the curve. We're in the curve of our nerve, so it connects our nerve to our spine, and everything will be all right. It'll be fine. So in tune we will go. I'll soon talk back to you. Appreciate you. I love y'all as the audience. And stay tuned. We're coming through. Yeah. Okay, gotta ask you. Say it again. Restate that.
I said I've been playing long enough to be able to beat on something.
Yeah.
I connected with the drums
Yeah. Come closer.
uh, naturally, and grew up in a Pentecostal church playing. And I used to be overtaken playing, and I can always remember the feeling. It was better than any high I've ever had. It was better than any feeling because I was there, you know, because playing takes me there.
Yeah.
For most people, it's showmanship,
Right.
but for me, it's spiritual, you know, it's release.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healed when I play,
Yeah.
you know, I'm strengthened when I play. I'm happy, you know, I'm restored when I play. Whenever I'm feeling down and I begin to play, I forget all about why I was down. Literally.
That's powerful.
Forgot why I was down.
Yeah.
And so I recommend if you have a child in the home that's constantly banging, get that child a drum.
Yeah.
My mom put up with years of banging, and she never complained.
Huh.
Never once
Wow.
complained.
Yeah.
I beat on trash cans. I could hear the different tones in my mother's floor.
Yeah.
So each spot of the floor was like a different tom-tom
Yeah.
to me.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I can hear the different tones in the floor.
Yeah.
And so I would sit down with my
Ah.
sticks and I would act like I had a drum set. And I had no drum set. It was just a gift from God. That's the only way I can put it because it wasn't something that was taught. You know, it was not anything that was, hey, you do this. No, it just came natural. Kind of the scariest thing that ever want to happen, but when you be able to sit down and you just start doing something without even knowledge of how.
Yeah.
That's crazy right there.
Yeah.
Without even knowledge of how. You know?
That's what I was saying earlier about connected to the all.
Yes.
We're all connected to an all concept.
Yes.
And so even when we're calling the God out,
Yes.
the God is a concept
Yes.
that generates us inside of ourselves.
Yes.
And when we're inside of ourselves with the God concept,
Yes.
it breaks down the energy of what's saying on the outside
Yes.
scale because you look at it on the outside and you're trying to look for it, but it's actually inside of you. So when you look at what's inside of you, it can come out now.
Right.
And now when you feel that out, you're more on a confident level.
Yes.
Just like what I was saying about hitting the drum with your left hand.
Right.
You know, you probably did a lot of things with your right hand. Open the door, shake somebody's hand, eat, write with, use your steering wheel. But then, you know, the other hand end up doing the signal light. So it's like the small things, you
Like
know,
the small
not
things.
really too much.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Anytime you probably use the other hand is probably when you pulling the trash can or you putting a backpack on your back and you gotta, you know, use both arms, you know, or sometimes you might put both your hands on the steering wheel, but 9 times out of 10 you put the arm you favor and it'll end up being the right hand. So when it comes down to left and right, do we use it for creation? You know what I'm saying? Like if I was a flute player, I'd be having to use both of my hands.
And right.
You know what I'm saying?
Left and
If I was any type of instrument player, I had to use both my hands.
Both.
Whether, you know,
Both.
I still had to do,
Both.
you know, some kind of way where I'm
All
using, yeah. So,
Both.
and so how you feel about that? Do you think that because we connect to left and right, is that tapping into our masculine and feminine, or
I
is
do
it that we
believe
still
so.
say separate?
I do believe so because you can't have one without the other.
Right.
You cannot have one without the other.
Yeah.
So I believe so, yes. In everything.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. You know, so, and that's just the way it is. That's the way the universe is set up.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. You know, I can't have love without hate sometimes. But that love should always conquer that hate. But sometimes we got that hate, but we don't admit that we got that hate. Can't do one without the other. My brother says you got to have the sunshine in order to appreciate the rain.
Yeah.
You got to have it all. You got to have all 4 seasons because all 4 seasons have a purpose.
There you go.
All 4 seasons have a purpose.
4 into the 3.
4 into the 3. Yes, it all comes out.
Yeah.
And can I just say something while I'm just standing here? This mic is in front of me. Anybody that that's religious. I suggest that you pick up your Bible and really read it, because you'll be shocked when you really read it instead of listening to what you've heard. Because most preachers preach what they heard. Yeah. They don't preach what they read. And what they preach, they heard before. Yeah. They just preaching it a different way. Yeah. Focus on them things that's not said about, like diet. Right. They don't speak about diet. Black folks have issues with high blood pressure, sugar diabetes,
copper,
all these things, right? But they don't teach that. Read that Bible. Read that book. You'll find out some good things. Some not so true and some true. It's all how you perceive it and how you want the message to come across. Allegoric stories. Here's my favorite. Yeah. Jonah. Okay. It's my favorite. Disobedience to me, right? They said the whale swallowed him. Yeah. To me, it was his disobedience that swallowed him up.
I always wondered about that one.
It was his disobedience that swallowed him up. So it was used as a whale because it was great, showing you how great your disobedience can be. Yeah. But in a moment, once you change...
Ego.
Yes. I'm not, I won't, not them. You know, not favorable people to want to be talking to all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was his issue, not them folk. Yeah. Just like we black folks do now. Not them folk, right? But you can be so overwhelmed with your disobedience and they can swallow you up. Yeah. But when you change your mind to be obedient, obedience will overtake you and overwhelm you too and consume you. Yeah. So I just wanted to make that point right there. I always like to make that point. If you want to think about how great the whale is, think about how great your disobedience is.
That's true. When we think about land is what we're on. So we materialize on what we think matters. So when we're putting spirit on it, matter end up having the water on top of it. So that's like how we baptize on a lot of levels. So when we see reflection like liquidate, we do these certain things to the asset. When we're into that, we use fire. Fire is what we say, brimstone, burning brimstone. So it's like the idea of now putting the element of what we thinking is like the ultimate peace. But then, of course, you can't because you need air. Air is your balance, or it can separate. And so now you need to know how to either balance it or it's going to separate. And so those are the elements. Again, it's the 4 into the 3. You're solid as your mind, liquid as the body breaks down the gas, as a gas out. You think of Sagittarius and Saggy, gassy, in reverse. So when you think of how gassy you might be, it might that you having warships in the body. And the warships become raw into the self, and now you got self issues coming out, and you don't know how to relate to them. So everywhere you go, you come out with childish versus childlike. You know, and childlike can bring you childlight, as in brightness. Right. Because you can light a whole room up, just one little itty-bitty light. Right. And so when it comes down to the dynamic of what's negative and what's positive, that's how I was talking about with the 10 and the 90. We think of the 90-degree angle. But that 10%, what is that? That represents the shadow. And so your shadow, you jump up, you think you off, the ground, but you still connected. So when you come back down, who's connected to you or what's connected to you? That shadow. So wherever you go, you're still on 100%. Just that this, you don't think of, you can take this with you, this shadow that's in front of you or behind you or beside you or even right there underneath you. You just didn't know that. But you're always attached to 100, the opposite end. So when we think about breath, we breathe it, right? I can't see it, though. So am I afraid of it because I can't see it? That's my 10% that I ain't paying attention to. Did anybody tell me to breathe? Oh, no, that's just the body doing it on its own. So we're connected to collective DNA on the skin. So just like what he was saying as far as reading the scripts, your body will soon get in tune with everything that's needed to be known if you need to know it. Yes. It might not be right now. It might be later. But you will know. Because truth don't just pop up. It always been there.
Always been there.
Yeah.
You gotta seek out truth.
Yeah. So that's what you're doing. You become the seeker. So as one who seek her, you're connected to that H that was missing. Because when we say miss her, we're thinking of even in mission. It's the miss of ions. Connect to your ions. Hear the sirens? Sirens is connected to the sirens of Murmur. Murmur to mermaid. You know, they made the bird become a maid. They made the bird become a maid. Ain't that something? And then we call them mermaids.
We call them mermaids.
So you could be made to do something, or you can just do it. That's your connection. Like, come into how in tune you are. How one can be in tune. Oh, confirmation. Sound of the horn. It's like an elephant. Don't forget your past. Sankofa. From Ma'afa to Sankofa. You know, you got to tap into that. Everything that goes around, the sounds, are like intercourse to the thoughts of how you in and out of thoughts. You know what I'm saying? We could say we're out of the attraction, but all them things keep you on a track. If you didn't know, then it'd be a diss track. That's why the railroad has the X. They got circles around that, and it's 2 on each side. The 4 pillars. Get your news. Learn your news. Your news. You're the new of the past and the present and the near future. So your Trinity is always there, the 4 into the 3. So when we're tapping into ourself, you can see your 7 is your heaven. How do you connect? From your left to your right. The X becoming an 8. Connect to yourself, and then you get your 9. 9 is keeping you straight, keeping you aligned as you stand on a 90 degree. And that 10% off angle, you might not see. But at the same time, that's the 100. That's why we're connected by seeing 100 in ourselves, the perfection of man, because we came from the woman. You know, the womb of that man comes from the Ma and the N. Not just moon, because you could have a pale face on thought. You could be the Jack Kill. Jack went up the hill to catch up with Jill, but what'd he do? Broke his crown. So when he broke his crown, he went from his violet to violent. Yes, he became violent. And now Jack became the Ripper. Jack the Ripper, Jack went up the beanstalk, Jack be quick. All these Jack concepts that Jack-o'-lantern is a messenger, but we didn't know this Jack, do we? Because he got jacked up. He could be a Jack. Oh. But you know what that means. It's just a donkey that pins the tail on the donkey concept. Yeah, pin the tail on the donkey. But donkey ears is known as the Libra sign. So we have to know how in tune we're in tune with the present. And now it's a gift. If we didn't know, the donkey ears would be like pinning the tail on the donkey. And when you pin the tail on the donkey, it's like now open, but now it's closed because you use the pin to pin the tail. It's the tail. Tail is like your tail or the tail of your thoughts, as in to tell what you're speaking on. See, it becomes a point where 1,000 words end up being that one word and you still figure it out because all the sources still come back to that oneness of self. One on. No. It's just to get in tune with the science. How do you get in tune with it? How do you feel like when a vibration hits you, do the drums connect to that higher level? Do you feel that that's what is needed in
That's what does it for
this
me.
time? What about the music industry
Man, we
compared
don't
to the drums?
Man, listen, we don't even want to talk about the music industry because I don't even.
I'm just saying, like, could it connect from the drums
If we went
back?
to
If
our
we go
natural-
back,
if we went back to our natural state of drumming and music, I believe that we would gain a more sense of spirituality.
okay.
The music today is killing every sense of spirituality. These young guys, they don't understand they're being pimped by these record companies. Years ago, you couldn't say anything on the air. Now they allow them to say things on the air, right? And if people wake up and if people pay attention, you'll notice it's all negativity. No message. There's no public enemy out there doing their thing no more. Now you got, whoever that cross-dresser is out there now, rapping. What kind of message that send our kids? Either you man or woman. You can't be nowhere in between that. You understand?
Yeah.
If we went back to our natural sound.
Yeah.
I listen to Curtis Mayfield, his music has lots of percussion in it.
Yeah.
Lots of drumming in it. And when I hear his music, I connect inside. Got to get back to these things right here, and natural music. So music can, if people understood how powerful music really is, it can either uplift you or tear you down.
So you already said don't end up buying basically a drum versus like plastic type gifts.
This is the to me, this is the gateway to all sense of spirituality with me as far as black people are concerned. Because that's how we originally communicated. I keep saying unless we get back to who we really are, we're going to keep struggling as a people and as a nation of people. We got to get back to our original way of communicating.
Speaking of that, I actually got on to Job Corps, and Job Corps helped me with the fine tune of myself. I'm not gonna say that everything was great, just like we find our good, we find our bad. But in our bad, I found my good,
Right.
where I learned how to dance. I learned how to do the reggae dancing to African dancing. When I got into the African dancing, I ran into a brother named Sickly. I didn't know who he was at the time, but come to find out, I was like, this is a revolutionist. He came out to Penn University to speak. I mean, he had brothers with suits on and everything. And I'm like, yo, this is off the chain. I'm here dancing for this brother. And then he was like, I love how y'all brought me back to Africa. And I was like, wow. And like, I'm knowing he, did everything he could do for Africa or here and what he wanted to do in Africa. So I'm like, that's amazing that I did that. But it was like the new beginning of myself. So when I got here, I didn't know how to drum. Not one lick. So when I got down to Berkeley Park, that's when I started my drumming with El Kite, with Stone. These are the brothers that was out there, Shaquem, and we played Baba Silky, make that connection, the higher level. So it got me to know now, you take it on your own. I was 204 when I had a divorce. And it devastated me so bad, I didn't know what to do. 204, 40 size waist. I looked down at my feet. I couldn't see my feet. I was like, how did I get this big? Man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So 10 minutes of a workout ended up being 10 minutes a day to every other day of doing different parts of my body. But then I got back on a stump. They had a tree stump. I went from the tree stump back to the drum, and that's how I got connected with the drum. Got me so in tune with it that I got more confidence in my left hand. Because if you notice, some people had to go through life not learning their left hand. They might have to learn to do it the right way. You need to use your right hand. Switch up. They even known back in the day that it was a shame that you use your left hand. If you even go into different types of religion, you could not use your left hand. You get
use that right hand,
hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Use that right hand.
Scold you, hurt you, damage you. And so you made it a thought not to use your subconscious confident hand. Subconscious confidence. Wow. That's terrible, right? Wow. And so a lot of us been in that. So we do have to know what to do. Get back onto creativity in the art, whether you like cutting out stuff, making clay things, like we were saying, hitting the drum. All of these things are coming back to the artisans of back in the day that they say that we're no longer, because what had happened is our mother happens to be this little computer stuff. Everything is now in digital world. And so now we got to go back to the creativity world, and we can still use the digital. Nothing wrong with digital. It's just to balance and enhance that no one else has seen, maybe that's on the other side of the continent. So that's what I'm saying. Be in tune with that. And the dance. Find the dance. Proper brothers. When we dance, we do this. We break it down. This is the chest, not the nay-nay stuff. That's gay. Not it's gay, man. You gotta cut that out. We're not nay-nay gay people. That's coming from Nana. That's the tribe still energy. So we gotta know who Nana is. Nana is the mama. Nana is like Nancy. It's the Annie. We're connected again, but not knowing why we still feel disconnected when we're dancing. So we got to get more on the chest, upper chest. Even if you do the two-step, it's a separation thing. Can we put the camera on the feet right quick? Can we put the camera on the feet right quick? It might be a feet thing when you're moving with the 1-2 step, but even when we're thinking like old school, that's the 1-2 step, all right? But when we change it, it can be a hop with it. And this is more the African step. See, so this is what we took away from them, and we need to get back to that. You know what I'm saying? When we do that, we can even kick our foot ups. So it's like a foot up and then down, a foot up and then down. So it's a lot that changes just this 1-2 step that we used to do, because we feel like that's the only step we know, but it ain't. We got more to it than that. And so we just don't have to limit ourselves to the line dances that they made up and thinking that's the only way you dance. I've been around VA for a minute, and now to see that when I'm here, my grandma was on 29th Street, so here I'm 28th Street, just, connecting right here. I need to see what else is here that we can elevate off of. And the African connection has to be in tune with our American connection, because we're Amurika, American connection. It's Murr in there. So we have to know how to be Murray, feel love. We're not dancing like Coonan. That's not what I'm saying. We're not cartooning people. We don't pick up careers and then call that a career. As what my brethren say, Sizzler said, a career, you put a car in the rear. We're a duty to this life. This is our duty. If we don't, we become doo-doo instead of duty. Do tie the connection. Don't tie it into ties as in messing up your ties as in a currency tie. Because the currency tie flowing the wrong way is not still helping you. You could help out a whole covenant of people that's not going to help you. Then what you going to feel like? The outside's supposed to give you your income. You're the income to everything. So once you find the finance of self, enrich yourself with people around you, and now you feel the high elevation from your left to your right. We can always say that's right, but when do we say that's left? Matter of fact, if we go right, we might have forgot that we could go 3 lefts and still get back to that connection. I'm just saying. That's what makes you know that we're in a box of thought and we have to come out of the box. You know what I'm saying? No more just thinking. Put it a thought process. We're thought processors. So the time that we do it. Yes, sir. Original thought process. Yes, sir. Much love. Each one teach one. Reach Back Foundation. Love to y'all because, they're out here doing their thing. And even when we're seeing the people out there, the Akoban, they're brothers that do their thing as far as the brothers. We even got sisters out here doing their thing too as well. They had a sister circle. So when it comes down to someone you can go talk to, there are people out here. You just got to really put yourself out there to find them. That's right. Not just say, oh, it's just, as they say in the church. Because church has ways of getting to you. That's good. But again, you got to find all levels. That way you could say, every part of the corner versus just one little tune of the L. You need to know the whole tunnel. That's right. If you don't know one tunnel, it's just tunnel vision. So you need to get more higher, wider range on the thought, just like a camera. Focus, man. All right. Peace and love. Respect. Blessing.